I've never really been the type to suspect my wife Emily of cheating. We had a pretty normal life, good jobs, a nice house, two adorable dogs. But lately there were little things that started to feel off. She'd come home late from her book club, which was supposed to be just a casual thing with her friends, but I'd find her phone buzzing with messages late into the night, and she'd quickly hide it or delete things. When I asked about it, she'd brush me off, call me paranoid, say I was imagining things. That should have been a red flag, but I guess I was just too comfortable, too trusting. Things really started to feel different about 3 months ago when I noticed her phone was always glued to her side. She'd sneak off into the bedroom or the bathroom whenever she thought I wasn't looking, and her texts became a lot more secretive. I caught her in a few lies. She told me she was working late when I'd see her texting under the table during dinner. She'd get defensive if I confronted her, which only made me more suspicious. But I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was just stressed or having an affair with her boss or some coworker, I thought. I tried to keep things normal, but I couldn't shake this feeling that something was seriously wrong. Then one night, I came across something I wasn't prepared for. I was sitting in the living room, scrolling through my emails, killing time before bed, when I noticed a strange notification pop up on her phone. It was a message from some guy named Jack, an investment banker she'd been seeing for a few months now, apparently. I knew she'd been talking to him during her book club nights, but I didn't think much of it until I saw the messages. They weren't just friendly exchanges. They were filled with flirtatious comments, talking about late-night meetings, secret plans, and, most revealing, a lot of talk about how good their sex was, how they couldn't keep their hands off each other. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, trying to process what I was reading. Jack was talking about their sessions, how they'd sneak off to some hotel, how everything was so easy with her because she was so bitchy and cocky. That's literally how he described her. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I couldn't believe she'd been cheating on me with some guy I'd never even heard of, let alone suspected. I mean, I'd always thought Emily was a little self-absorbed, but it was next level. I felt like I'd been hit with a ton of bricks, and the worst part, I had no idea how long this had been going on, how deep it went. All I knew was that I had enough now to see everything clear. She'd been lying to my face all along. I couldn't just sit there and process all this in silence. My mind was racing, but mostly it was a furious blur. How long had she been lying? How many times had she met Jack behind my back? And why the hell was she so good at hiding it? I mean, she's always been sharp, bitchy, quick to lie her way out of anything, so I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. Still, knowing the truth now felt like a betrayal on a whole new level. I decided I needed to confront her. I waited until she came home from her book club, trying to keep my cool, but the anger was bubbling up inside me. When she walked in, I could see her usual smirk, like she thought she was smarter than me, like she was just having a little fun. I blocked her from going into the bedroom, and I took her phone away before she had a chance to delete anything or lie her way out. She looked at me like I was crazy, like I was overreacting, but I knew better. I had the proof. "Emily," I started, my voice shaking with a mixture of fury and heartbreak. "Who the hell is Jack? And how long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms, and scoffed at me. "Oh, come on, Mike, you're overreacting. Jack is just a client I was helping with some investments. It's nothing serious. You're paranoid." That's her go-to lie, deny, dismiss. Her tone was bitchy, and her attitude made it clear she thought I was just some jealous idiot making a fuss over nothing. But I wasn't buying it. I had everything on that phone, every message, every call, every sneaky encounter. I pressed her harder. "It's not just some client, Emily. I saw the messages, don't lie to me. You've been cheating on me, haven't you, with Jack?" Her face twisted into a sneer, and she finally shot back. "Oh, please. You think I'm some stupid little wife who's gonna sit here and pretend everything's fine? Jack's just a guy I talk to like I talk to a lot of people. You're just jealous because I'm better at my job than you are at keeping me happy." Her words hit me like a slap, but I wasn't going to let her play me for a fool. I told her that I'd seen enough, that I knew about everything. The lies, the sneaking around, the secret meetings. She just shrugged, acting like I was overreacting, like I was in the wrong for catching her cheating. That's when I realized that Emily had been nothing but a bitch from the start, and her arrogance only grew with her lies. I felt a mixture of rage, betrayal, and deep sadness that I had trusted her for so long, only to find out she'd been screwing around with some guy because I was good enough anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her texting him, heard her lying to my face, and felt the sting of her betrayal. I kept asking myself why she'd do this, why she'd risk everything just to get some quick sex with a guy who clearly had no respect for her or for me. The thought of her in bed with him, the way she described their sessions, made me sick. I felt humiliated, especially because she had always played the victim, pretending to be the innocent wife, the one who just liked her investment meetings and book clubs. Now I knew better. I knew she was a bitchy cheat, and I was furious. I'd never felt so betrayed in all my life. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't look at Emily the same way. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, she was just a manipulative, lying bitch who thought she could get away with anything. My mind kept circling back to the messages, to the way she'd lied repeatedly. It was like discovering a whole different person, someone cold, calculating, and utterly selfish. I felt a deep sense of loss, not just for the marriage but for the trust I once had. It was shattered into pieces. I knew I had to decide what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her again, call her out, maybe even end it immediately. But I also knew that Emily wouldn't go down easily. She'd probably deny everything, accuse me of being paranoid, and try to turn it around. That's when I started planning my revenge, how to make her pay for all the lies and betrayal. I didn't want her to walk away unscathed. I wanted her to understand how badly she'd screwed up. The next day, I began gathering evidence. I took screenshots of the messages, printed out some of the more incriminating ones, and started looking into her phone logs. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some fool who could be fooled. I wanted her to realize that I knew everything: the secret meetings, the texts, the lies she told to keep me in the dark. I also decided I'd make her regret ever cheating on me, but I had to be smart about it. I didn't want a messy screaming match or to blow everything up without a plan. Meanwhile, Emily kept acting like nothing was wrong, throwing her bitchy attitude around, acting superior. She'd brush past me, smirk, and act like she was the queen of the world. That made me even angrier. How dare she treat me like I was nothing after she'd been sneaking around with Jack? I couldn't stand her arrogance anymore. Every time she looked at me with that smirk, I felt the urge to tear her apart. I knew I needed to make her feel the pain she'd caused me, but I also needed a plan that would give me the upper hand. So I started to dig deeper into her emails, her social media, her bank statements, anything that might give me leverage. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I was willing to fight back. The more I uncovered, the more clear it became that I couldn't trust her anymore. She'd lied so many times, I couldn't even keep track. I was furious at how easily she'd lied to my face, how she thought she could just brush it off and pretend everything was fine. That's when I decided I'd let her have a taste of her own medicine. I wasn't just going to leave her, no. I wanted her to feel the pain, the sting of betrayal, the humiliation of being caught like this. I wanted her to realize that she couldn't get away with trashing our marriage, with playing me for a fool. I was done being the fool. I was ready to make her regret ever crossing that line. And honestly, I was just getting started. Over the next few days, I spent every free moment planning my move. I knew Emily was a bitchy woman, manipulative and full of lies, but I had to be smart. I didn't want to blow everything up too soon, or she'd just disappear or spin some story to save herself. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I knew the truth, and I was prepared to do whatever it took to make her regret her actions. I started by installing a few monitoring apps on her phone and laptop, just enough to catch her in the act or to gather more concrete proof. She was so predictable in her arrogance, I knew she'd slip up eventually. And sure enough, a day later, I caught her messaging Jack again. This time she was bragging about how she couldn't wait to see him, how she'd sneak out that night to meet him at some hotel. It was like she was just asking for me to catch her. I felt a rush of satisfaction, finally, proof I could use. But I also felt sick. Watching her act so brazenly was like being stabbed in the chest again. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get so bad, how I'd been so blind to her bitchy nature, her lies, her constant deception. She always played the victim, but deep down, I knew she was just a selfish bitch who used her charm and attitude to keep me under her thumb. Now I was done playing nice. That night I decided it was time for her to face the consequences. I set up a meeting with her at a local coffee shop, pretending I wanted to talk. When she arrived, she was her usual bitchy self, rolling her eyes when I brought up her investments, acting like I was just some insecure husband. I told her I knew everything about Jack, the secret meetings, the sex, the lies. She tried to deny it at first, the usual bullshit. You're crazy, I don't know what you're talking about, but I threw the printed screenshots on the table. Her face went white. She knew I wasn't bluffing anymore. Her reaction was a mix of anger and panic. She started shouting, calling me delusional, accusing me of invading her privacy. You're just jealous, Mike. You're insecure because I'm better looking, more successful, and I don't need your stupid little marriage, she spat. Her bitchy attitude was on full display, but I didn't care. I was past caring about her words. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. In that moment, I realized I had two choices: forgive her and try to pretend everything was okay, or cut her out completely. Honestly, part of me wanted to destroy her, to make her feel everything she'd put me through. I decided I'd go with the latter. I told her I was done with the lies, the cheating, the arrogance. I told her I was filing for divorce and that she'd regret ever betraying me like this. Her bitchy smirk faded into a look of pure rage, but I wasn't backing down. This was her wake-up call. It was like a switch flipped in her. She tried to play innocent, but I saw through her act. She knew she'd been caught and she didn't like it, but I didn't care. I had what I needed now, to show her she couldn't cheat her way out of this, that her manipulations and lies had finally caught up with her. I felt a strange mixture of relief and anger, knowing I was about to walk away from a marriage that had become nothing but a sham. And honestly, it was the best decision I'd made in a long time. The divorce process was messy, as expected. Emily didn't take it well. She threw every possible bitchy tantrum, acting like the victim, claiming I was overreacting, that she was just having some fun, and that I was too insecure to handle a woman like her. Her words were venomous, full of that bitchy attitude she's always had, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew her game now. She was a manipulative, self-centered woman who thought she could get away with anything except losing me. I had already gathered enough evidence to show her she was the one who fucked up. I made sure her reputation was damaged enough to keep her in check. I leaked some of the messages to a few of her friends, making it clear I knew everything. I also contacted her work, just enough to let them know she'd been unfaithful, nothing crazy, just enough to make her realize that her lies wouldn't save her from the fallout. She tried to deny everything, but I had enough proof to silence her. She was furious, screaming, crying, calling me every insult in the book, but at that point I didn't care. Best part, watching her try to manipulate her way out of it and failing. Her bitchy attitude couldn't save her now. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. For the first time in a long while, I saw her for what she truly was, a selfish, lying bitch who had no regard for my feelings. I realized I'd been a fool to trust her in the first place. Her cheating wasn't just about some affair. It was about her complete disregard for our marriage, for me, and I was finally free from her toxic hold. About a month into the divorce, she started losing it. Her bitchy side came out even more, throwing tantrums when she didn't get her way, calling me every name she could think of, trying to sabotage my reputation at work. But I stayed calm. I knew her weak spots now. I had her cornered, and she knew it too. I made sure she understood that her lies had caught up with her, that she'd have to face the consequences of her actions. It was a kind of justice I'd never expected to feel, but damn, it felt good. Throughout it all, I kept reminding myself of what I'd learned. Trust is a fragile thing, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to mend. Emily had taken that trust, shredded it, and trampled all over it. But I also learned that revenge doesn't have to be messy or violent. It just needs to be smart. Showing her that I knew everything, that I was in control, those were my ways of turning her own game against her. And honestly, I don't regret it. I feel lighter now, Like I've finally freed myself from a toxic relationship I should have walked away from a long time ago. I've moved forward, not because I want to forget, but because I want to rebuild. I've learned that sometimes you have to lose everything to realize your worth. And for anyone out there going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't let some bitchy wife or manipulative partner drag you down. Stand your ground, gather your proof, and don't be afraid to fight for your own happiness. Because in the end, betrayal only hurts if you let it. Now, looking back, I realize that all the pain and anger I felt during those days was necessary. It tore me apart at first, I won't lie, but it also forced me to see things clearly. Emily's betrayal was a wake-up call, a brutal reminder that some people are just selfish and manipulative, no matter how much they try to hide it behind their bitchy attitude and false charm. I've learned to trust myself more, to listen to that gut feeling when something's not right. Getting rid of her, exposing her for the lying, cheating bitch she was the best decision I ever made. I'm not proud of how it all played out, but I am proud that I stood up for myself. I realized I didn't need that kind of toxicity in my life. Now I focus on rebuilding, on finding someone who values honesty, loyalty, and respect. I've come to accept that some relationships are just dead ends, and it's better to cut your losses than to keep chasing something that's already broken. I don't hold any resentment anymore. I just feel relief. Relief that I finally saw her for what she was, an entitled, manipulative woman who played her games until she met her match. She thought she could cheat and lie her way through life, but I proved her wrong. That lesson cost me a lot emotionally, yeah, but it also taught me that I'm stronger than I thought. I don't need a toxic partner to feel complete. I just need to trust myself again and move on. To anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation, trust your instincts, gather your proof, and don't be afraid to walk away. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply letting go and reclaiming your life. I've learned that the hard way, but I'm better for it now. Emily's out of my life and I have no regrets. What she did to me was wrong, but what I did for myself, standing up, fighting back, and finally walking away was the real victory. That's all I can ask for.